Can you hear me, Natalie? Hello.
This meeting's not loading.
Yeah.
There you go.
Live.
All right, so, yeah. All right, I want to call to order the board meeting for June 18th, 2026. Solon Community School Board of Directors here. Mission statement: engage every student in the opportunities to learn, lead, and grow. Our vision statement is every student graduates prepared for success. Roll call.
All right, roll calls.
Here.
Lang,
Here.
Paluska on.
Here.
All right.
Yep, I'm here.
Coons,
Here.
absent Director or Vice President Brown and the student rep Piper Johnson and Parker Bett.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome to all our visitors. Remind me of your name again. Grace, thank you for coming. Grace is with the Solon Economist, so happy to have her here. Celebrations of achievement.
Just want to point out, Solon Education Foundation, they are dissolving. And so with the money they have, gave an extraordinary amount, $190,800 in grants to our teachers. And there's a list of things that they have awarded them. So we want to thank SCF and some of the items that were gifted through the grant. I know as we are growing back and expanding our industrial tech program, I believe JJ got new welders for the program through SCF. And so that's just some of the things that they have gifted us with, which we very much appreciate how they're enhancing teaching and learning in our district with their generosity.
Yep. Megan, where does that all stand now?
So as far as how far have they
Yeah.
taken their account back down? Is it your understanding, Josh, that these are the final?
These are the final, I believe they held some money back for playground at some point, I think.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I believe so.
So I think everything's spoken for at
Okay.
this point. They've been working really hard this last year to figure out how to sunset that organization, which is a sad day.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
So we would love if another organization felt the organic need to pop up and support, but I think we're in a really strong position that we can help find ways to help teachers without this fund.
Yes. All right, next district reports. And we're in the
Focus on that.
focus on learning, yep. So we're looking at our end of year academic data.
Earlier in the week, I believe I just sent you kind of a summary 3-pager, but principals here just to kind of walk through their data and answer questions that you may have towards that data. The data we are missing right now is the Iowa assessments, and that'll have to be an August presentation because of when we get it back from the state. So early indications, though, they look pretty good as far as the data that was released, but we don't have the gamut of data that we need to present. So that you won't see today, but other data that we collect and take throughout the year, you will see. So you want to just start with our little ones and move up.
All right, so for the last couple of years, we've looked at 1 year's worth of growth along with meeting proficiency levels. So the goal being that all students would receive at least 1 year's worth of growth as measured by their benchmark. So we take where they come in, we calculate what a year would be, and then that's our goal for the year for each individual child. This year, we set our goal at 95% and we just missed that at 94%. But a 4% increase from last year, and overall just really proud of our teachers and the conversations that have been happening around when we see a kid not on track, what can we do and how can we collaborate across providers and things like that. So that has been really awesome to see. And just thinking 95% of our kindergartners made it through their first year of school, making at least 1 year's worth of growth. Fuel is the next slide.
Yeah.
One more. You want the break?
Nope,
Oh, the
it's right
breakdown.
here.
Yeah.
Yep, so this breaks down, for the kids who made 1 year's worth of growth, then we calculated if they made more than a year. So a year and a quarter, a year and a half, a year and 3/4, and then as a building, we had 19 students who made 2 or more plus years worth of growth. So that may be either closing the gap or even above proficiency on either end. But some really exciting numbers to see there that we're not stopping when we get to a year. We're still having those conversations of how do we keep them moving and how do we keep going forward, so.
And that's across all subjects, no, that's benchmark, so
That's
that's just.
Yes,
for-
yeah.
Okay, got it.
So then this would be same assessment, but proficiency wise. So this year we had 92% of students in the building are meeting grade level proficiency for reading. So you can see, you know, from 3 years ago, 78% now to 92. I do believe having that like laser-like focus on every single kid making at least a year's worth has really helped the overall proficiency go up as well. And then this is fast screening data. Again, just a universal screener, so a dipstick of what we're seeing across various subtests, but 79% of the building adequately progressing in those areas. Again, that kindergarten class, they are doing fantastic. 95% of them were adequately progressing as they're leaving kindergarten, so we're set up for a great year in first grade.
Cassie, I know you know this, but remember the FAST is a screener that the state put in and it is the purpose of the screeners to over identify. So when you say, oh geez, only 80% of our students are progressing, well, that's that 20% that's not, it's to over identify kids so that we don't miss anybody that might be on that bubble or just below. So it's just another piece of data for us.
And then this year we used the fast math screener. And 70% of our kids were adequately progressing on that as a building. Being the first year giving this screener, there was some learning happening there. And really seeing it is very much focused on number sense. And so how do we strengthen our number sense and how do we make sure that kids are flexible in the ways that they see and use numbers. And so we've had some really great conversations of we were presenting things maybe horizontally and they also need to be able to do the thing that, you know, what have you there. So lots of really good conversations and lots of growth from students. But again, as we implement a new math curriculum next year, we'll be focusing on this area.
Clearly the first grade group kind of stands out a little bit. Were you able to effectively pivot from the beginning of the year? Did you do it 2 or 3 times a year?
Math.
Fast, yeah.
Yeah.
So were you able to effectively pivot?
Yep,
throughout
so
the-
in the winter is when we took the winter data and used that to make intervention, so then intervention groups started for the first time.
In the winter, so
In the
winter
winter,
just
yeah, they had to have 2 testing periods in order to be
put into intervention.
put into the,
Got it,
put into the
okay.
intervention and make those groups. And so that's another conversation too, is like matching right interventions for the different areas that kids are we're seeing those deficits in. So those, continuing those conversations there. But yes, it was really exciting, even just to build that intervention block into our day and get that up and going, so that we really felt like we could meet kids where they are, and we have the data to support.
Does that tell us, since this is the grade levels that actually don't take the ISAP
Correct.
assessment, so does this help identify where we might think about systematically our curriculum next year?
Yes,
Okay, awesome.
yes, that was a big part of our conversation, and looking at interventions too, of like, wow, there's a need for this number sense piece and that flexibility, and how do we build more of that in, and what does that look like in the resource that we selected? Anything else?
Thanks, Holly.
All right, from an intermediate standpoint, we have our maps data. And so students take this 3 times a year, fall, winter, and then again in the spring. We were able to go ahead and, from previous year's spring scores, we were able to go ahead and do interventions for kiddos for math, in addition to reading that we always do. So percentages you see up here are literacy, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade from fall to spring, their growth there. Some really good growth, 4th grade. Had the same amount in the below level, but then bumped up in the exceeding category. So there was a little bit of shift in between the meeting and the exceeding going on there. Lots of really good conversations around really looking at how are we determining what our meeting strategy groups are going to be. We did have a lot of learning and growth for our teachers with just new staff and bringing 3rd grade up. So just getting them on board with some of those initiatives that are building specific that they wouldn't have had at Lakeview. So we're looking to do a little bit more of that coming into the 26-27 school year. But overall, some really good shifts in growth from fall to spring and 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade speaking. You kind of look at that overall in the next graph. Yeah, next one there. It takes all that data and determines, are we in a high growth, high achievement, low growth, low achievement, where are we at as a grade level, and as a building. So the grade levels that marked there, and then there's like a square in that like center-ish zone of that triangle, and that shows where the school as a whole is growing.
The intermediate school.
The intermediate school, yep.
And what was our goal this year?
Our goal this year was for us to have 90% proficient for ISAS, so we won't know those scores until August. Yeah. I would anticipate maybe just missing it based off of the data that we have, and kind of anticipating that from MAPS testing.
Just good question with the goals, and this is kind of the way I look at things, so I've asked the principals to look at it this way also, as far as setting high goals. And if we miss them, fine, but set them high. You know, it's like, if, shoot for the stars, and if you land on the moon, great, good job. And so, if our building's at 80%, it's like shoot for 90-95%. And if we fall short, hey, shoot high. And so that's kind of where so if you miss it, it's not necessarily a bad thing, as long as we're progressing towards that.
I think we'll be in the middle to upper 80s if I had to guess. I did pull ISAS data, you can see raw data, but they don't have it such that you can tell what score is proficient versus not yet proficient, or even advanced in there. I was comparing it to what the scores were for last year, just to see like if they remained similar, where would we be? In that case, there's a lot of really good growth that's showing if the numbers don't adjust too much, but I think that's a little too early to tell. And then in math, same thing, we use the MAPS math testing. And so 4th grade here, there is a typo on their below level. It should be 39, not 29 in the spring. So they really didn't shift between any of those. From fall to spring, and again, that's kind of looking at that math resource materials and what we need to do to provide more of that on the early level within the grade level content. So.
And are you able to see the specific areas? Like,
it will break it down by domain, so we can
Okay.
look at it like algebraic and operations, number sense, geometry, etc. So we can kind of see there. And looking at that, it kind of remains the same as it's been the last couple of years, fractions and geometry, as much as we pour into that and practice on that, that just becomes hard. So.
And when we were screening resources for math, we were looking at those
Yes.
domains and how strong is this resource in the domains that we've been short in, or, yeah.
And really balancing that between the fluency, automaticity, and the ability to problem solve within all of that for this new resource. So we're excited about what that's gonna bring to the table for teachers, but then keeping our intervention. We use Bridges intervention for math, which is the same as well, if you use this as well. And then some conversations we'll have are, what are other intervention pieces that we may want to use? If Bridges isn't hitting the needs of some of those kiddos, so. Just things we'll continue to look at as we come forward and begin with the new system. And then
I thought we were looking at possibly changes in their core curriculum for math K-5.
Yes, we are.
Everyday math.
Yeah, we are doing that. That's shifting. I just met with intervention resources, so we use
Yep.
Bridges, but we may also look to see what else can be utilized there, what do we need.
We'll continue, we're shifting towards everyday math. It's I mean, as we looked around the area, we took a look at like Pleasant Valleys, they have got really great scores, growth. They use everyday math, they also use something like Dreambox as a supplemental tool. I think our biggest missing piece is really trying to find a solid intervention and what that looks like. So exploring, I think one of the tools we're looking at is Kickstart. There's also a Numeracy 2.0 project that we're kind of looking at, but we want to maybe invest in something consistent across the system like Kickstart. Marion, I believe, uses Kickstart. Iowa City might use Kickstart as well for the math intervention. That's probably been our biggest missing link, is the intervention piece. We've been
Bridges
utilizing.
has been good and gotten us some good growth, but it doesn't fit the needs of all kids, and so trying to figure out what will support those kids that it's not. Yeah. And then you can kind of see the overall in the next slide. Again, we're following that high growth, high achievement. And I will say again, just preliminarily looking at ISS, where I would anticipate some good growth in math for us. So specifically, SAS was targeted this year and looking at our special education students and making sure they were making good growth as they were a bit stagnant from last year's stuff. And so looking even at just this year's scores comparatively to where scores fell last year on the ISAS for rankings and stuff, growth is looking really good. So we had to submit a preliminary report to the state, and we were confident on the growth that our students made. So that's good. Good news. Any other questions on the intermediate school?
Are you using map to screen? And then we have to
Yes,
report
it's
those
actually-
back, is that, I forget what the state requires, is
Yeah, we don't use FAST, but we use maps, and that's the state requirement.
we have to screen in K-5, K-6, oh yeah.
Three, isn't it?
Well, they're forcing us.
It's K3, but now that we move third grade to the intermediate, third grade impacts the whole entire building. And so because third grade sits in our fourth and fifth sits in the same building, we have to go through fifth grade now.
Which we were doing this anyway before third grade came on, the math testing.
Yeah.
And with the math, the math intervention requirements now through the state, we have to go all the way up through sixth grade and write intervention plans and all that stuff too, so.
So you are screening.
We have to
six,
screen
whether
regardless, so
you're
we're
reporting
using the
state or not.
data to determine.
I will just give a plug for Solon though, because even without the math plan requirements, I would say 99% of the kids that would require it according to the state, we're already paying them with our intervention because we posted it. So
That's great.
yeah. Any other SAS questions?
Was the maps new to your building also when it was for Hollies and?
No, we've been doing maps. Josh, is it 2 or 3 years now at SAS? I can't remember what it is for it.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah. I don't remember if it was my first or second year here. I asked Josh if we could get it, so we've been doing it, but it was new for third graders to take it. Yeah. Okay, and then I'm gonna present the middle school data as well, just because it's also MAPS data. Because Mike wasn't able to be here tonight, so forgive me, I'm pulling up my notes that he asked me to share this data, so. His
report looks very similar there. They only do the MAPS testing in the fall and in the winter. And they do that because then in the winter, they use it to help form their intervention groups. And since they're not going to do that in the spring, they don't take it in the spring, so they just take it the 2 times a year. And he said, I'm gonna read from here, he said. They're pleased with the results and they do match what he would anticipate from ISASP and looking at last year's ISASP results as well. Both for individually and group performance. He said they are not happy with their fall to spring change totals with the percentages there. And I already told you about the spring math piece.
Do we know why? I mean, I know why he's not happy, but do we know why they went down? From fall to spring, not putting you on the spot now.
He didn't, yeah, I was just, yes, he didn't say that in here. I don't know if he talked to either of you about that.
But we would be able to, based on your experience with the map, we'd be able to go back, look at the domains and see, okay, 7th grade, 85 down to 83. So was there, did anything highlight out? Was there a domain that was weak for that grade level or such?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we'll go through that.
And you'll know this, you guys know this, doesn't map grow as, like, it's not that, there's more stuff you're taking in the fall or in the winter than you would be, there's new information. So it's not the same test twice.
It's not, it's an adaptable test
Right.
when they take it. I mean, so there's benefits, to be able to see kind of where that growth goes.
It's seasonally normed.
Right,
So
so,
the expectations of
or you
a
should know more
5th grade
stuff.
student in the
Okay.
fall.
Right,
And
the RIT score changes.
Yeah, so. Yeah, then it against the national norms, and I don't know if they have. Sure, they have state predictability, keep asking that, like.
Well, I talked to somebody
They
today
do.
from
Yeah.
NWEA, they're with the how ISASP is changing, they're looking at their correlations, I think
Yes.
is what, so.
Yeah,
You can, so I don't know about the middle school, but at SIS, we did send home the parent report for the maps. So they could see like, and it does have that predictor on where ISAS would be. Now, how accurate that will be this year's reports compared to the new data norm of ISAS, but they could be pretty close. I mean, I don't know, but it does give them that, we do give that. I don't know if Mike does that at the middle school or if he gives those reports out, but.
did they answer your question, Dan?
Yes. Yeah, they're expecting growth as they take the next test.
Overall as a school, that's his literacy, if I'm correct, right, Josh? Is that a expression, guys? I think that's literacy, if you scroll up, it would be the one, whatever. it
Oh,
is.
yep, sorry, there's the button.
Still in high growth, high achievement quadrant there, as a whole for each grade level. I do not know which of those points represents which grade level, 6, 7, or 8, but as a building, it's that's clear. And then similarly for math, if you'll scroll just a touch more, yep. Same thing with his percentages, he said both literacy and math kind of felt the same way there. So we'll look a bit deeper into that and I can pass that message along too, just to try and see what domains or what areas can get all this back, so.
So maybe in August, when we get the ISAP data back,
Mm-hmm,
we'll take a look at this, take a look at that, and
Mhm.
see. what-
compare.
Yeah, because we typically will look at the domain areas and ISASP and we do a comparison from last year to this year.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, by the end of the year, you shouldn't be surprised what the ISAP data tells you, because you should be
Right.
monitoring it right away.
And then again, still falling in high growth, high achievement category as a whole. Thank you for the.
Thank you.
They just. Very similar.
No, you got it.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Drew, are you just texting her?
Correct.
Just do this.
With the high school there, started with some career connected learning. So we still work with the workplace learning connection out of Kirkwood. Who provides us kind of the end of year data on all the things that our students have done with them. So overall, the experience has increased by a decent amount. There are a number of students, the number of events that they participated in. Job shadows did go down, the number of students and then just the number of students that did multiple job shadows. I tried to take a look at this data to try to break it down a little bit. I think our seniors this year kind of brought the numbers down a little bit, and I think there might be an okay thing about that because a number of them the year before had done one or two. And so I think either they got to a point where they thought I've exhausted that option, or I found what I wanted to do, or I don't know what it was, but the number of seniors was rather low on job shadows this year compared to the previous year. So I think we made a nice push 2 years ago, and some of those seniors that maybe hadn't done it earlier really picked up the numbers. And then last year they had kind of already, I should say this year, they had already done one last year and the previous year. And so they just, for whatever reason, kind of backed off. I'd like to push further into that and just kind of see if that was what the reasoning was, or if they just thought, well, I'm a senior already, it's too late. I guess I don't know at this point in time. I guess if I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm doing. And we'll just kind of see where our numbers this year for seniors fell off just a little bit on the job shadows. But that doesn't mean they weren't doing other things. Like I said, the number of things that they were involved in, the number of events overall for all of our kids was a nice increase that we saw there. Internship stayed about the same. Most of our internships do come in the summer because just during the school year, trying to find a partner that works in your school schedule is sometimes a little bit tough to be able to make it out to a business, only be able to maybe be there for 80 minutes, get back for something else that's going on. So we don't have a ton of them that do it during the school year. So they really have to do summer, and then that is not easy as well with everything that everybody has going on as far as their camps and their leading edge and jobs and everything else. So internships is still kind of one. Jody Line Cooler has really been working on like a externship or some kind of variation to the internship as well, that we can maybe put into the school year and make it a little bit easier where a student is using part of a class to be able to do that while getting credit at school and being able to kind of work with the parameters of the kids to increase that in a way. So always working on those things. But again, as far as the career connected learning, again, it was nice to see an increase in the overall number of events that our kids were doing.
Question on internships.
Yeah.
Is there a criteria to be classified as an intern?
So yeah, so for at least going through, that is a great question because this is only through work-based learning connection.
Okay.
We had some students that did it outside of the work-based learning connection, just came to Jody or came to me and said, hey, I've got a family friend in the accounting business. I'd like to do an internship with them. Can we work out a credit for that? We absolutely will work with them. So that is just for Kirkwood. It's 40 hours that they have to put in over a semester essentially. So it's not.
So there's not a way to capture outside of Kirkwood internships?
I do have that information as well. The number this year was probably only, because I put them in myself, was probably only like 3 that reported to us.
Okay.
Now there could have been some outside of that just didn't get the credit for it and never came to us and did an internship but didn't let us know about it. And I know Jody's been working on that as well, of how do we make sure that these are all getting counted, students are getting credit for these, we're making sure that we're following up after their experiences to make sure that what's the next step? You did your internship, did it go well? Do you want to further that with something? Can we help you take the next step? So really trying to make sure that kids know these are available to them. There's credit for internships, and that we're here to help them with the other opportunities as well.
Is that true for job shadowing as well? Only counts if it gets flagged in the.
Correct. Yeah, this is only counts if it is through work-based learning connection. So if you don't do it through the work-based learning connection right now, then yeah, that's not in these numbers right here. I know Jody does keep those numbers independently though. So if a student comes to her and says, again, I'm not doing one through there, but I'd like to go, I've got another one lined up. I already did it myself. Or can you help me find one with a company that maybe the workplace learning connection? A lot of the times what I wouldn't say draws them away from workplace learning connection is you don't get a definite date. So if you really say like, I know I'm gonna have this date available because we don't have school or we haven't early release, something like that, and I'm gonna line up, I really want to use this time. The workplace learning connection says it could be anywhere within months. And some of them actually, I think at the end of the school year, still were in place for their last portal. They still hadn't actually completed their job shadow. And that one, closed back in February, March, I think, when that one actually closed. They still were able to complete them because they hadn't placed them yet. So they'll complete them after the school year gets over, which is not ideal. Yeah. So yeah, Jody's definitely been working on that as well to say, hey, if you've got a day and you've got something you want to do, let's see if we can find somebody that will work for a job shadow right here in Solon or right in the area here that we can go, this is the day we want, this is the time we want. Can you make that work? So again, yeah, this one gives you a snapshot of what's going on with the workplace learning connection, but there are things happening outside of that as well. This again, just kind of breaks it down, and that's why I said the seniors, as you can see there, the number of seniors was just barely into double digits there, as far as their, numbers went, so that was really kind of the difference between this year and the last year. Gives you kind of the areas that some of those students were in, so we had 78 students that participated, some participated in more than one. As you can see, 20 students participated in multiple, so we got up to, I think the count was 98. That we had as actual number of job shadows, our job, and over on the side there you see healthcare, engineering, athletics, mental health, law enforcement, skilled trade. We had students do a number of different things there. But so overall number went down, but I kind of wanted to take a focus on, I mean, we really put it on job shadows, but I want to take a focus on career connected learning in general instead of just.
You're missing education.
I know, yeah, I would love to get more, and we had, I would love to find a way to count the interns that we were having over at the middle school, because we had a number of them. And they had a great experience, and so if we can somehow structure that in a way too, where they are, because you had some, that was impactful for a number of our students that get over there. And I think a couple that had no interest in maybe going into education at all are at least considering it. So, yeah, it's nice to be able to get them over there. So.
Question for you.
Yeah.
And maybe I misremembered this. Why don't we have freshmen in some of this?
Workplace Learning Connection doesn't allow freshmen.
Okay.
Yeah, they just stay, the 10th grade is the first year that they can do it. So we do things through our ICAP,
Okay.
mini job shadows, some other things that we do internally, but the Workplace Learning Connection says you gotta be a 10th grade student before you can do it.
Good, thank you.
That just breaks down the event programming, the different events that we were a part of there with the Build My Future. Again, the different career fairs and appreciation days that they have going on, career exploration days. I know Kate Pruss, who is our college and career transition counselor, is really looking at next year of beginning of the year, getting a better kind of pulse on what the students are interested in, even if they have any idea, and then making sure when she has events that come up, she can pull from that list and say, you said you were interested in this particular field. Guess what? We're going out to this day because it's 20 minutes away, and let's go do it. And so kind of pulling those kids a little bit. So let's go do these things because you had mentioned you had an interest in it. So don't tell me you don't now. That's it. So now we've got these events going on. So she is really looking forward to kind of getting further into that and making sure those kids are exposed to all those things. We work with JJ to take a number of his kids to a number of these events in the trades. But we'd really like to get some of our students out to our healthcare, can we get them into education? Can we see something that's there as well? And so looking forward to next year. I think Kate is really taking some nice steps when we see this evolve as we go forward. That just gives you the full report. So it's a link to what the Workplace Learning Connection gives us. So that just breaks down basically some of those screenshots that just put in it. That gives the full report. Again, as we've talked about a number of times throughout the year, the IRCs are the industry recognized credentials. The state has put a focus on this and made this a part of our Iowa performance profile. And so this year we did increase both the number of students and the total IRCs that we had. We did talk earlier this year about the hiccup we had with the NCRC and trying to get our seniors to take that. And we thought we had it all lined up to happen in-house, and then 2 weeks before, we got a call from Iowa Works that said, we can't do that because the state has told us we can't do that. So lost out on that opportunity, but Jody Linepuller has had one with her entrepreneur class. That was part of the increase after they take the entrepreneur class, because both Jody and Ms. Sexton have taken a course through the University of Iowa, kind of a training. At the end of the entrepreneur class, they can pass a number of tests, the students can, and with that becomes an IRC. She had 19 students get that IRC this year. And then outside of that, all the other IRCs came from the academies at Kirkwood. I didn't see the different ones that they were participating in. Mr. Cooper was just trying to get it off the ground here. I don't think we got it this year, but next year really incorporating some OSHA trainings and certification into his courses. And we're still continuing to explore other options for IRCs. The state allows you to kind of put proposals in for IRCs as well. So we had a gentleman and his company kind of approached the ICAP committee and kind of say, I have this program. I've already went through the process of getting the IRC approved by the state. So if you were to bring this in, it's also grant funded. And so it seems like it's a 2-day process. It is rather expensive, but like I said, He says, if you can provide a venue, and then the other things can be covered. And so, and with that, then it becomes an IRC that he has already got approved by the state as well. So looking for those things that have benefit, one of the things this year, we probably, I guess I'll admit, we were trying to check some boxes kind of this year a little bit, like there's a focus, we need to get started, we need to have something, what's kind of our path of least resistance, but that was the NCRC kind of, we thought. Until it wasn't, but going forward, want to make sure that there's actual value in the IRC the students are getting, because a number of these do come with a financial cost, to the district, potentially. And so if we're going to decide that it is an IRC that we want to invest in, it should be something that is seen as valuable in the industry that the students can actually take with them and show and feel like it means something, that they have it when they leave here. So we did increase it, but I see this continuing to go up as we find new opportunities, and get innovative on our students. Concurrent enrollment, just giving you a snapshot of what we've been doing over there at Kirkwood. So the Kirkwood Academy this year has 24 students in it. Next year, I think we're in the mid-30s at this point in time with the number of students that we have signed up for an academy. So just looking at next year, I think we'll increase that option. Kirkwood Alternative, when we talk alternative, that's just what they call it, but that essentially means one of our students is taking an online course through Kirkwood, or they're on campus at Kirkwood taking a class. They call them both of those alternative. So we had 58 students take 95 courses in the fall, and in the spring we had 77 kids take 113 courses. So total enrollments either online or going to Kirkwood and taking a class, 208 different enrollments that we have in that. Kirkwood at the high school. Again, this is kind of a focus and something that we continually try to expand if we can, but right now we have Comp 1, Comp 2, calculus, statistics, and we have a number of different. Jody Limecooler rotates the offerings of computers every year to be able to change those up a little bit. So it was information computing this year, but next year it's web programming. I think there's one more that she has, so she just puts it on a rotating basis. To be able to offer those so that she has room in her schedule to be able to do that. And then she teaches personal finance as well, which every one of our students takes before they graduate. So in-house enrollments last year, or this year, excuse me, 296 enrollments for in-house Kirkwood classes. University of Iowa had just a few take PSEO, generally a couple of students. PSEO is like a post-secondary option. So essentially it's like a Kirkwood dual credit in a way, where they go on the campus at Iowa and take a class for credit. So it's, essentially like a concurrent enrollment, but it's just Iowa's way of.
So this is enrollment coming, this is not.
This is the enrollment that happened this year.
That we,
Yep,
okay.
this year that we just had. Yep, so we had 3 students. We had 2 students go down and take calculus at the University of Iowa. Some of them just choose to take it. I mean, the majority of our students that choose to take calculus take it through Kirkwood and take it right in house. But we do have a couple that I don't know if they plan to go to the University of Iowa and they just want to have that experience, but they go on campus to calculus. And then we had a student take a higher level Spanish. He had exhausted all his options at Kirkwood and decided he wanted to continue on and went on campus and took a Spanish class at the University of Iowa. So just a few students there. I think the previous year, I think we only had one. So we had
Clearly the flexibility, either doing it on campus or online is what is most attractive, because having to actually physically go to Kirkwood is not conducive to.
It is very difficult in your schedule to be able to do it unless, you have, if you're taking an online class and you do it, you have your whole afternoon off or something from the high school, and you're able to go get to campus and then say, well, now I've got my next block off and I've got an online class. So if I had to estimate the number of kids that went on campus at Kirkwood, I would put it at half a dozen, 5. That probably went actually to the class on campus. So the vast majority are online options, and then the number of students stay in the school and do those, work on them in our commons area. And so it's and we've seen pretty good success. We've tried to identify kind of going forward those that haven't had success in the online arena. What can we do to really help them? Maybe I don't want to say, look at that cautiously going forward. Like if it wasn't really good for us for a semester, chances are we probably shouldn't enroll in another one the next semester. Or maybe we need to take a hard look at why we weren't successful. Was it just time management? Did you not know the class started? Did you not have what was going on? And so making sure we're just next year taking a better look at that, so we make sure we're setting kids up for success and not just saying, anybody go ahead and sign up for a Kirkwood class, and I guess best of luck. And we'll see what happens, so making sure we're giving them good guidance on that as well.
With the academy, what are some of the main examples of different academies where you have?
The vast majority of our students go to take, I'd say probably one of two different academies. So in the healthcare, there is pre-med and then there's like a CNA, too. There's kind of two different levels there. We have a lot of students that go and do that. And then the manufacturing and welding, we have a number of students that go over and give those, which is great. They come away with a number of certifications, not just OSHA, but they get, whether it's, their brakes and suspension, they're going over there and doing, there's one more that I think I'm forgetting there too, like heating and cooling, systems in
HVAC
cars
stuff.
as well that they're getting, so, yeah, so they got, some that go over and do the automotive track that gets some good ones too in there, with those, so, I think we had two this year go to the automotive, and I think we had another 3 go do the welding, manufacturing. But the vast majority are still probably in the medical, or the CNA route, or that they go over and do, so. This is everybody else has kind of said, like, we won't know the proficiency ranges for ISAPs until later this summer. They have went from expanding it to 3 levels, which was just before not proficient, or advanced. Now they're gonna go to exceeding, meeting, approaching, or below, is the kind of their continuum of 4. So what I did is kind of like the other buildings did, I went and just took the past cuts for what was proficient and used that to come up with, if we had used data from before, we had increased the overall average of the high school by about 2% this year. They used those same cuts. We had went from 87.8 last year to an overall average of right at about 90 this year. Things were looking better, and improving there. We won't know for sure. We still live in the sun.
Drew, do we ever use ACT data?
I do. ACT data, we had 92 students take the ACT. We had a average score of right at about 21. I think it's 20.9, which was an increase from the previous year, of going up as well. And then I have broken it down. We haven't gotten too far in the weeds yet of actual every category, and then within the categories there's domains. I have average scores of each one of those broken down as well, so that we can take a further look at where's maybe even 1 or 2 domains that we are struggling in the most, and how do we address those instead of trying to tackle the entire thing. But
Well, and I know in the past, and not an expert by any means, but I know when my kids took it, there was some grammar on that, and we're not a grammar school.
Yeah.
So we're asking kids to be tested on something that we're not teaching for their college entrance. So, I mean, I would think that would be, we want to look at those sort of things.
Needs to change their blueprint.
Okay, and so that's what I'm saying. I don't know if that's right or wrong anymore, but I just want to make sure that if we're gonna ask kids to take the ACT for college entrance, and we aren't covering these things.
I will say,
Right.
Working with high school ELA team and Drew this spring, as well as some collaborative conversations between the middle school ELA team and high school ELA team. There's gonna be a bigger emphasis on those types of things.
Yeah, I mean, just as long as we're matching the blueprint, if that's what they
It just
have,
recently changed, like
Yeah.
last year, or maybe
Yeah.
coming up.
I just want to make sure that we,
Have you heard
Yeah.
about it?
I have not, yeah.
Yeah, I Google it.
Yeah, just Dan, to your point,
Google me.
just Dan, to your point, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
Definitely on.
I mean, yeah, we just want them to have the best chance to be as successful as they can.
Yeah, and one of the things that we have, we kind of gave it a little bit of chatter this year, but going forward, we don't have any formal ACT prep. ACT has a number of programs. I've seen it done in-house before, where it's the district, charges a fee, students come in, and then that fee is paid out to the teachers that are helping them prepare. So there's a number of different options there, whether or not the district wants to entertain looking at paying for something like that or investing in something like that, but I think it's something we could definitely take a look at going forward. But the 92 were just the ones that took it in district, so there was some others that take it in the national site as well, but 92 is a good amount of data. We offered it in April, so we'll plan to do that again next year.
Anything else? Megan, I know you had said something briefly and it might have gotten talked over. But just appreciate that we got the information all the same. I think we had requested that last year. It's just, and we do appreciate that. It just, at least my little feeble brain, it's easier when I can look at the same data throughout the district. And I do appreciate that. Anything else?
year over year too.
Yeah.
It's helpful for us, like, to see where we were, see where we're at, and hopefully some months ago. So, thank you.
Cass, anything before we move on?
No, I agree.
Yeah. And I appreciate kind of what Davis said, we have a high standard here. We'll continue to have a high standard here. And I appreciate the fact that when we're not meeting the standards that we want to meet, that we pivot and look at our data and try and change and try and be better. We'd like 100%. We know that's unrealistic. But we also know that we can get better every year. And these are why we take these tests, and ISAS stuff will be exciting to see how that is, and exciting and also totally different, which is always fun for us to try and dig out the data, but I know you guys do a good job. So headaches over the summer of figuring out new ways to look at stuff. So, all right, board committee updates. Strategic plan, Cassie and Davis and I have tried numerous times to mirror our schedules together. Always somebody seems to be the fly in the ointment. So we will hopefully get that done some point in time in the next.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, we keep talking about it, but it's good stuff that we are looking at our grading practices.
Yep.
And one of the questions I have is, we talked about setting out our communication in advance of school coming back.
Mhm.
So just make sure to keep that on the forefront of our radar, just to describe some of the changes that we are making.
Actually, Drew and I just met with the high school leadership team, and we shared just some information regarding the grading piece and some of the changes, and having that team kind of take a look at some of the proposed ideas that Drew and I have been talking about. There's not anything new to them. It's all been things that we've been talking about. But coming back in the beginning of August and reviewing that, and then we can, we'll take a look at some communication. There's an idea of putting together some also forms of, I don't know, some sort of a standards-based grading pamphlet or brochure or information that really describes what that is all going to look like moving into next year. So.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, parents would be excited about hearing some of these changes.
Capital projects. Adam, anything? Or you
I'll
can
say, yeah, I'll say,
Okay.
Well, yeah, I'm on here now. Go ahead,
Okay, yeah.
Davis. Go ahead.
no, okay, let's see, Lakeview, you can see it is, they wasted no time. If you ever want to go in and see what it looks like inside, it is gutted on the interior. And then they are working on the west parking lot, which is the softball side. They just a reminder, we are where the little S where you come in by the batting cages, that's being removed. They're going to slide over just a little bit, and that will become the bus entrance so that we can widen our horseshoe pick up and drop off, because right now we're double stacking buses, which is not good to double stack a bus and have a child walk in front of one. And so we're going to widen that out for safety now, and then it gives us plenty of room to grow as far as if we ever have more routes coming in at that time. So a lot of work being done this summer there. We're finishing up the roof this summer too. We had a section left at Lakeview. We've been doing it piece by piece. The final section we just threw into the project, that's being completed this summer too. The indoor facility, it got wet for a while, but tomorrow they're bringing in, I don't know what you call it, a vacuum almost. We have to determine how deep the geo field is. The geothermal field sits there that feeds the middle school, and we have to make sure it's deep enough to compact on top of it. If not, we'll just have to slide the footings for the building. The whole building will just have to reposition a little bit to make sure we stay off those. But Watts is going to figure that out and finalize that tomorrow as we actually vacuum down to the field to see for real how deep it is. Because, it may say it's 16 feet deep on the on the blueprint, but it doesn't mean it's 16 feet deep.
Right.
So we're just gonna be for sure on that.
We don't want to be on those.
No, other than that, we have been working on the central administration office. Really have done through a lot of work on being more efficient with the space and paring it down, and it will actually go out in July for bid. And we've already had people interested in reaching out, so those that have reached out, we're actually gonna sit down with them. And as they look at the blueprint, they'll work with the architect, and if they have ideas that can save us money as they value engineer each part of it, as long as it's approved by the architect, we're gonna allow that to really get it down to the most economical price we can. So
At our current setup, with what you have designed in there, I know two places that were affected or could be affected by this building meeting is robotics and the PACE lab.
yep.
Is that currently still slotted to have a space in that section, or are we looking to push those to our?
We're looking to push those to our existing building so that we can pare down the admin building to really come in below where we want. We did, Tim, Adam, and I met, and we did walk a few ideas for those spaces. Talked to Josh about how much square footage he felt would really be needed for those spaces. We believe we've got a solution for both those within existing structures. So those programs will keep, they just won't be in the central administration office.
Financial services,
I don't think that we have anything, currently that we've been working through. We're just really excited to get our hands on Brady here. Put our heads together for some planning in the future.
well, he was excited that his gas bill is gonna be less now, that he's not traveling an hour each day. Governance,
Again, I wouldn't say we have anything new. We are scheduled to meet in 2 weeks. Cassie and myself on that committee, taking a look at 2 specific policies that we've mentioned in the last couple of board meetings we should peek at.
we may have one more with an information item today that we'll look at too.
Yeah.
All right, consent agenda.
I motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Rollcols,
Second.
second by Lang. Anybody want to pull anything out or look at anything specifically? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 4-0. All right, moving on to action items. All right, first one will be the district development special education delivery plan. I know we've been working through this throughout the year.
And you remember, a team from the AA came in to do a thorough review of our program. Josh presented their findings. It's a plan that we look to renew every 5 years. The timing was great for the AA to come in, that team, and really do a thorough evaluation and review. The data that Josh presented is infused, a lot of those recommendations infused into this new plan, moving forward.
Sure. Josh, anything specific you want to point to
No, I
or?
just appreciated the committee. We had some weather things that kind of got in the way, but we met at least a couple of times, gathered some feedback regarding the current plan, what changes we want to see, taking a look at some of the changes or some of the information from the Department of Ed and IDEA, as well as take a look at the caseload determination matrix, or not matrix, but calculator in the appendix, which really just kind of gives us an idea of how efficient are we in terms of caseloads for our special education teachers, to make sure they're not really overloaded and they can't be efficient with serving our kids. So there were a couple tweaks there that we made just to more accurately describe caseloads for teachers. And then within the plan, just added some really continuum of services language based on some things that I looked at through the IDEA. As well as adding some transition pieces in there, especially as we're looking at how we serve kids at the middle school, high school level, to be able to support them better to acquire a diploma and graduate from Solon High School. So there actually, I would say there's some significant additions. I wouldn't say changes, but in terms of that continuum of services. And so then part of the process prior to bringing it to the school board is getting the Grantwood AEA Special Ed Director's approval. We're here to take a look through that, make sure we have all the components and we're in compliance with that. She was able to sign off. We just had a couple of things I needed to add in there, but said everything else looks good. So.
What does ongoing monitoring look like, or are there yearly check-ins on how we're performing against the plan?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just looking at all of our data, looking at our ISAS data, looking at students, our subgroups, in special education, looking how they're performing. Through our review, it was definitely noted that there still remains a pretty significant gap between special education students and general education students, but with the goal of trying to close that gap. And then, of course, looking at just our program in general in terms of how we're performing. Are we efficient with our caseloads? What type of goals? How are we supporting kids? Those types of things. So, as we look at annual review of that, it's kind of a natural progression as we go through the year and are taking a look at some different things, especially as we look at ISAS or benchmark or MAP testing results too, and acquisition of goals as kids make progress. So.
Go ahead, Megan.
Yeah, I move to approve the district special ed delivery plan as presented.
Motion by Megan,
Second.
second by Cassie. Oh, sorry, Lang and Rumpels. I just want to take the time, I think this was good work done by the district. I know it was time too, but I think we've made some significant changes for the students, especially in the middle school and high school. And just being a part of this in our own family, I just am excited about some of those opportunities that our special ed students will be able to. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes 4-0. All right, the next action item is a special board meeting to close out our fiscal year. Guys like Brady want to close and cross T's and dot I's on the last day of the year. So that'll be Tuesday, June 30th. Let me look at my schedule. Did you have it?
I can be here.
Didn't know if morning would work better for the team or.
Yeah, and I'll be maybe able to do it. I'm not sure. Will there be enough people who can?
I can do it.
That should work for me too.
Okay. So as long as we have three and Tim probably will be available too.
Okay.
So I'll entertain a motion.
So I motion to approve the special board meeting on Tuesday, June 30th, 2026 at 7:30 a.m. as presented.
Motion by Rockholz,
Second.
second by Lang. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Passes 4-0. Next is the transfer of special education funds to Grantwood AEA.
This is just, with the changes at the AEA, the money comes to us now. We really kept 90 to 95% of our services the same. And so the money's coming to us now. So we're just transferring that to the AEA as we've purchased all those services through them, as we've kept, things the same now as they were prior to the changes in the law.
So Davis, is this money for services already rendered or is
Yes.
this money? Okay.
Yes.
So, and
Yep.
then we'll do this again at the end of next year
Yep.
after.
Yep.
And will you relook at?
Absolutely.
What
We went through that. We made some changes for next year as far as we won't be needing this next year, but maybe adding a little more of this and that. So we reviewed everything, looked at what we utilized this year. For instance, we used some additional mentoring this year that we won't need next year because we're not bringing in some of the new unique positions that we had this year to next year. And so we did review it earlier and yeah.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of special ed funds to Grant Wood in quarterly increments beginning 7/1/26 as presented.
Motion by Lane,
Second.
second by roll calls. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 4-0. All right. Now we're done with the action items. Let's move on to our informational items. Building handbooks.
So every year the principals go through and if there's any changes to district practices or district policy or anything like that, or again, just reviewing their own building handbooks, any changes, they note and highlight for board to just look at. This is informational.
I appreciate you guys highlighting it, so I don't have to go through the entire. I can just go to the yellow.
Yeah.
Anything, Cassie or Megan?
We do it this way as informational because if any time we need to tweak or change or adjust the language in the handbooks, we can at an administrative level. So mid-year, if something might change with the board, like when we decided at the end of last year to pilot some changes in cell phone.
Right.
We could easily just go back and adjust our language without 2 readings at the board meeting.
Yeah.
So that's why we do it this way.
I guess I just had a question on the bus piece.
In whose handbook or was it? Who did the bus? Did you?
I think it was the SAS.
Yeah, that's right.
So all the highlighted was what was taken out in lieu of.
It was, the discipline policies and
Yeah.
change for the bus. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yes, and that was on my recommendation because we have in the transportation handbook
Right. so
language for, so we didn't want to
maybe not have them perfectly aligned, just go to one.
correct
Sure.
that, and that's why we did that.
That's awesome.
And the transportation in the language in the transportation handbook gives a little more flexibility too, as far as consequences and things like gives our director a little more flexibility with this management of that.
Anything else? Again, thank you for your work. Thank you for making it easy on us.
I had an ask on the cell phone there, a question, I think.
Yeah.
If I put it in there or not, but
No glasses.
two situations, it went really well this year, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I think it went really well. 2 situations that just come up, we've kind of defined it as 8 o'clock until 3:15. We had students with open blocks that were working on Kirkwood online stuff. We really wanted to encourage them to stay in the building. And a lot of the times they'd be like, can I just put my phone beside me as I'm working, have it with me, and I'm in the commons, I just wanted to make sure that somebody didn't walk into the building. If we were to go and say, yes, that's okay, somebody would happen to walk into the building and say, why is this phone out? But still keeping it in all the instructional time, that student just wouldn't be having instructional class that was going on at the time, so they would be down in the commons area, working on those things. So just to kind of, again, keep the welcoming, we're not trying to boot you out of the building just because you have an open block and you're working on some urban stuff. And the other one would be when we have our Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, when the instructional time ends at 2:45, and then we have our request for Spartan time. We have some students who are still there for athletic practices that don't happen until 3:30, but they stay in the school. And they kind of got into the practice of, well, my instructional day's out, can I have my phone? And so again, just wanted to make sure that we had some clarification or have your approval to say you're out of your instructional time, and your instructional day is over, that they would be okay to have their phone in the commons area at that time.
Cass, thoughts?
More questions than thoughts.
Yeah.
Just off the cuff. Seems like if the instructional day is done, that seems like it's fine. When I'm taking a curriculum class, that's an instruction I'm getting, albeit online versus.
Sure.
So, I would be curious to understand what is the purpose of the cell phone being there while they're supposed to be learning.
So this year I told them what they could do is I said I was okay with them turning some music on, putting it in their pocket and listening to music while they were out on their lesson. Like, I don't have a problem with that. You know, if you need to have it out by your computer, I don't know. And I think most of them were okay with just if I just put it out and have my music going and whatever, I don't need to, I'll plug away on my computer and I'll do my thing. I would ask a little bit of the same, like, you don't need to be picking it up and texting people if you're really supposed to be spending your block working on an online class. That is your dedicated and like to instructional time. I want to welcome them into the building, but at the same time, I don't want it to look like I'm just, down here. If people are still walking the track, people are still coming out, people are still seeing them in the building, to just not think that they're just using it as a social time to hang out and use their phones.
The whole purpose behind the banning of the cell phone is to not disrupt learning. And not become a distraction. I think we can all, as adults, know how distracted cell phones can be just in our general day when you're trying to get something accomplished. And so if we can encourage that kind of best behavior about putting cell phones away somehow, that would be my opinion. On the approach. Others thoughts?
I also really like the idea of encouraging them to stay in the building to do
Yeah.
instructional work. I think that's really important to continue to do. And I also do view it as instructional time. Unless they're using it for instructional purpose, I think it should be okay.
And some I've done before, like, but they usually will come into the office and be like, I've really got to call so-and-so at the University of Iowa, like, I've got a question on my class that I'm working on right now, I can't get into my test, or I can't do.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, awesome, come in, let us know, we'll work with you, you'll be able to use your phone and do those things, and so most.
That's great, and I appreciate you being flexible for them to come to you, with those concerns. And then for me, as far as instructional day time is over, I think that is perfectly fine. Especially if you're gapping between the different school activities.
Yeah.
Well, I think it becomes, the end of the day is the easy one, I think, right? The Kirkwood class is the hard one. But to the spirit of the policy, yes, I want the kids to be there. But I think the message is that the cell phone is distracting during studying time. And so even if you're just listening to music, you hear your texts, you hear your social media, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's in the spirit of how this was crafted when we crafted it in the beginning. And so I would lean more towards, yes, are there other things we can do to encourage them to stay? You know what I mean? And I don't know what those would be. But if I would prefer, it just grazed the line for the students that are in the building that are in instructional time. And so I would prefer, even though I want them to stay here, I prefer not to have them have their phones out when they're.
I mean, I could see that where if you're allowed to do music in the commons while in an instructional period, they could argue, can I use my phone in the classroom setting doing independent work?
Right.
Right. Say no.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Say no.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does that help you?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it does.
And the other thing is I appreciate having these conversations, because I think we don't have all the answers. You guys are there. We are charged with making the decision though. And so I think Adam, do you have any strong feelings?
No, I think you guys were on point. No distractions is the big thing for me, and clean it up. I think that would sorry, my signal's kind of dropping here.
No problem. I just wanted you to have the opportunity if you were drastically different than the rest of us. All right, next information on student behavior and expectations. So Davis and I had a conversation here a couple weeks ago and just a lot of conversation about student behaviors and what the expectations are in our school, and that those expectations are carried out and understood by all administration, and that the consequences are throughout the school, everybody understands, and that the parents understand what these consequences are. And so there have been instances in the past several years where there's been destruction of school property. And there's been situations where multiple people are having to lose instructional time dealing with one student. 5 teachers or whatever are chasing the student around, and those 5 teachers should be in the classroom. And so, just really what does that look like for the district? And, parents in the district have more than ever a choice to where to send their children for schooling, and just that they know that we take student discipline seriously, and that these behaviors that disrupt our students and our academics are not things that we tolerate. And so really what Davis, and I know, I'm pretty sure you and the admin team have had decisions about this, and really what I wanted to bring it up for the board is, like, when we land on this, when the admin lands on this, I want them to know they have our support. You know what I mean? Because these are gonna be hard decisions to make. And that when they present, I think, when you guys come down to like, hey, this is what we believe is fair, this is what's right. Being able to come to present to us, and then we're like, when these occurrences happen and they follow district policy, they know the board has their back, because I think that's part of it too. I also think this is part of teacher burnout, is having to deal with some of these behaviors in the classroom, and just not being able to teach students anymore. And then Josh and I had some good conversations about some of these expectations and behaviors within the IEPs. Sometimes there's more flexibility in that than we think. And so I just wanted you guys to know that that the admin has been working on this. Davis, do you want to?
Yeah, it has been, and we realize too that, we're, what we want to do, our goal is to ensure that, we're providing a safe learning environment with minimal distraction every day for every child. And, as a public school, we educate all children. But we also know that, I think one thing that, I think separates Solon from a lot of school districts is, our classrooms and our learning environment. And so, as Dan stated, as we know, a great thing about the state of Iowa is parents have choice. And that's a good thing. And it's also going to, but with that choice, we have to make sure that, parents choose Solon. So, and we believe that, as I know the board believes that, parents know that they're sending their children every day to school to sit in a classroom that's a great learning environment, and they're getting great instruction, and that they're going to always be confident in our school district, and always want to be a part of it. And so we have been, as an admin team, working on, we've got some great things in place. Staff did a great job of managing behaviors, but as we always look internally, how can we continually improve? And so we've identified some areas, based upon this past year. It's like, okay, let's take this situation or this situation, and how might we have avoided or approved or responded differently, or things like that. And with that, we've had a lot of discussion this month of June as far as what it looks like, as far as mapping out, based upon our board policy, how do we implement board policy, map it out to where it's transparent, for the purpose of consistency across all levels, And when we go across all levels, K-12, we also take into account age appropriateness and things like that. But, not only transparent for administration, for staff, but also for parents and how to best communicate. And so as we work on putting this document together, this map together, it'll be something that, again, we bring to you in August or September to make you aware of it and feedback and things like that. But we'll also have communication for families and things like that as far as it being a priority in our district.
So this is kind of where I was talking about the governance. We have the policy here, so maybe having our governance committee work with admin so that our policy matches what we want, and it makes it pretty crystal clear to our community, to our students, to our parents, to our administrators and our teachers, what the policy is, what the expectations are, and what the follow through will be if those expectations aren't met. And I think this is good work for us. I think it's good to visit this and just know exactly what that looks like.
It's proactive.
Right.
I mean,
because the state's coming down with some of this stuff anyway. You know what I mean? So for us to take the opportunity to look at it ourselves, so we know where we are and what we believe, and then seeing what the state brings down and how we can merge those together.
Yeah, we do have new law that was signed that will go into effect. And so ensuring that our plan incorporates that into it. And two, it's just being proactive and getting ahead of it. So before it becomes a widespread problem that's going to be difficult to pull back, we'll just address now, get ahead of it so it doesn't become an issue that's too big.
Yeah, and I appreciate being nimble and ahead of it on it. I see it as being potentially a really big connection point between our families
For sure.
and our school, and a big trust builder. Because I do feel like there's a lot of families out there, maybe not clear on what is and isn't accepted, and how we do or don't deal with certain scenarios. And I think everybody can really build on that trust with transparency and consistency. So.
Great point. As we look at this plan, we're looking at, we're looking at non-violent behaviors, distractible type behaviors. We're looking at violent behaviors, which there's already law in place that went in 2 years ago to this. So we're looking at violent, non-violent, but we're also, so what type of behavior is it? How will we respond to those behaviors? That's part of it. What type of communication, what does communication look like? Whether it's communication back to the teacher, communication to the parents, communication to central office, what type of response or consequences goes with those areas of behaviors. And so we're really trying to look at it comprehensively so that we've got some consistency across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the mission statement, engage every student with the opportunity to learn, to lead and to grow.
Right.
And so if we don't have environments that match that, then we need to do something about it consistently across every grade level that we serve. And so I appreciate you bringing this opportunity to our attention, and that's what it really is. It's an opportunity for us to shore up, sharpen what we want to do, and ensure that we have the best interest of our students in mind and our teachers, because we want to make sure that we retain all students and retain all teachers in the environment that we bring forward.
And I would put this in the category of what we just talked about. I think we had, before you just adopted, a great special education department and delivery plan. But from really looking deep down, how can we make it better? And how can we take the next step and grow? And that's our new plan. And I think, as you saw our math data, okay, hey, compared to districts across the state of Iowa, that is great data. but how can we get even better? You know, how can we grow? What do we need to do? And I think we look at behaviors the same way. We have good kids and good families, but we do have some areas that we could get better at. And I think that's what we've been dedicating June to, is how can we ensure and how can we get better and grow that environment in our classrooms? Yeah.
And I think from the board's perspective, we hope it makes it easier on administrators. You know what I mean? When there's a clear cut, okay, you know what I mean? There's more of a plan that goes out to try and we know there's multiple situations that all don't fit into everything, but that there's clear understanding that, you know, the board is behind you supporting this, supporting the families and teachers of this district. So, anyone else? All right, talking points. Natalie, since your daughter's not here, no, I'm just kidding. Megan?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to speak to the data that everyone shared tonight. The data really isn't in the numbers for me, and what your growth comes with it, where the areas that you identify maybe aren't your shining stars. And then that's the next question, the next set of that, the next. So I really applaud you for continually analyzing. It has got to take an ungodly amount of time. You know, just throw all that together, but it is so important to continually uptick and push these kids because they're capable of it. So thanks.
Yes.
Speaking of data, that's not the only way to measure student growth too. So academically, yes, that's a big sticker on a report card, but there are multiple ways in which we are growing humans inside our classrooms. And so doesn't always come out in the data. And so it is evident that we got great kids. They're growing, they're engaging in their learning, they are doing the right work around work-based learning opportunities. We have kids in the classroom that are today that are trying to get even more educated about how the world works by year to day. So I just am encouraged as we close out this year that we've had a great year, and kudos to the administration and to the teachers and to the students for a great year.
And I'll just go back to the special education delivery plan and just all the work that went into that this year. Help from the AEA, but just a lot of work that Josh did on this, and you know, just finding those experts in the building to help, you know, kind of craft this and seeing those opportunities where, again, we have a good plan. How can we make it better? How are we going to measure how we make it better? Which has kind of been the fabric of this whole meeting today. So next regular board meeting.
Hey, Dan, I got a better signal.
Yeah, you bet. I'm so
Sorry,
well, sometimes you're here,
terrible there for a
sometimes you're not, Adam. Yeah,
No,
you bet.
it was,
Go ahead.
I was in a tough spot. No, I was going to say, you guys had a great meeting. Wish I was there, but a lot of good stuff came out of it. The Solon Education Foundation, I know Megan was a part of that. It was good to see where a lot of the funding went and seeing it go to our kids and teachers, and good things happening. But also too, just with the building stuff, we walked through and looked at a bunch of different things with Tim Davis, putting plans together. So, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff happening in the community, and especially in this district. So excited to see what things look like once summer kind of wraps up.
Thanks, Adam. Sorry to leave you out, buddy.
You're good, man.
So our next regular board meeting will be July 16th, 2026. I will not be here. I will be in Germany. Yeah.
Awesome, German.
You're not gonna log in either, then.
Yeah, it's a different time for sure.
I know.
Yeah.
I will be.
Everyone else will be, I think Tim will be here. Tim will be here to run the meeting that day. I think he was gonna check his schedule, and I haven't heard from him, so. All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:09 PM.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion closes at 7:09 PM. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Yeah.